Welcome, and thank you for joining us for Workday Chats today. I'm Cristina Goldt, the General Manager of Talent Products at Workday, and your host for today's discussion. If you have any questions, please share them in the comments below. I am thrilled to be joined by some of my favorite workmates, Joe Wilson, our Chief Technology Officer for the Americas at Workday, Ali Fuller, our General Manager of Employee Experience, and Andy Kershaw, our General Manager of Workday Financials. So to kick us off, 2022 was a year of great change, lots of transformation, from addressing and changing employee expectations during the Great Resignation reshuffle. We've called it a number of different things at this point, to navigating new working models, kind of that returnish to the office, having them reopen, new ways of working. And it's really never been more critical for our business, for all of us, right, to adapt and innovate, especially as we look at things like, the broader macro economic trends. So we are very excited to bring together top leaders from Workday to discuss key trends and what to look forward to this year. So let's get started. Let's have a little fun with the first question. So what are you most passionate about at work? And I'm going to start with you, Joe.
Okay. So in the spirit of fun, can I say the snack program? I'm just kidding.
Absolutely.
It's a great program, but that's not what I'm most passionate about. But I will tell you that I'm fairly passionate about setting the conditions for success. And I know that sounds nebulous, but what I mean is it's not just for our 17,500 workmates, but it's for all of our customers, right? Over 9,500 across the globe. But candidly, honestly, it's really about supporting that collective success for everybody, like the broader market, job seekers, healthcare patients, college students, everybody. So wherever there's good people with good intentions, I just want them to be successful. And that's what I'm passionate about.
I love it. Ali, how about you?
Well, maybe I'll start by saying I'm so excited that Cristina thinks I'm one of her favorite people. This is wonderful. So I'm joined with such great colleagues there.
And not just because you're joining me today.
Yeah, no, I do. It's such a fun conversation to be having with the three of you as well. But well, how do I keep this brief? So for those of you who I have not met or who don't know me, I am a total product nerd, and I absolutely love building product, full stop. But while I'm passionate about that, there is nothing better than actually seeing your product get used and adopted and ultimately add value for customers and users, 62 million plus users in Workday in that case. And there's actually a Willis Towers Watson statistic in particular about my area, employee experience, that says employee experience for 94% of the C-suite is a top of mind initiative over the next 3 years in terms of investing in. And what's really interesting about that is it's 94% up from 54% 2 years ago. And so that's when I think about being a product nerd and what I wake up for and I'm passionate about. Talk about an opportunity to build and deliver products that add value for a really top of mind issue and challenge for our customers over the coming year and in the next 3-year period over a changing world of work. So I'm passionate about connecting my nerdiness or product to adding value for customers with something that's top of mind.
Andy?
Thanks, Cristina. For me, it's all about new beginnings. I've taken on a new role, it's re-engaging with people in person and actually getting back to travel. A little bit like Ali, for me, there's nothing like the empathy that you get for building great product when you get to see them used in their natural environments. And these days, it's both in the office and at home, two very different scenarios for us.
No, that's all great. And I'll say maybe I'll pile on a little bit on that, where there's pieces of everything that you all said that I'm excited about. When I think about success and connecting our customers, making sure that they can do what they need to get done. But for me, it's connecting, people to opportunity with what we provide, whether it's the job seekers and our customers trying to get work done, trying to grow the potential in their organizations. I think there's so much that we do that will allow us to help our customers get there in the next year. And I think it just helps all of our workmates and the broader world. So All great things, and I think lots to be excited about. And I know this is a passionate crew here. If we think about as organizations begin or continue their transformation journey, because we do think about the change and transformation. Andy, you mentioned new beginnings, right? Navigating things like the talent shortage, while we know that that's loosened a bit, but there's still a big shortage in talent, focus on driving growth, and so many more initiatives that they have. Which priorities are top of mind for you currently? And Andy, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Cristina. So we are laser focused on helping CFOs identify growth opportunities as they close out the year and prepare for 2023, particularly as we look at the macroeconomic trends. So this starts with giving them access to deeper insights to illustrate profitability and understanding which parts of the business are working and which are underperforming. But we're also really focused on growing the already large number of customers using innovative technology like machine learning to intelligently automate their core business process. So this could help reduce invoice processing time, expedite the financial close, and help the finance teams work smarter, not harder, ultimately giving them time back. And the time is then able to be used for the value add activities, which is much more engaging, helping to retain and attract that rare talent, which, as you pointed out, is so important right now, given the talent shortage.
No, I think really, really very important. Ali, some thoughts on what's top of mind for you?
I always love listening to Andy because he ties the people to the financial aspects of it, which is so important.
Exactly,
because those are
right?
two very important criteria to running a good business. So in the employee experience space, I really think of kind of two top priorities. And I will mention this stemmed out of hundreds of hours of research and customer conversations and end users as well. And really what we want to be focused on is two critical components. First is helping customers simplify their digital ecosystem and really in support of that greater employee experience. So it probably won't surprise folks here. When we spoke to customers and users, we found that our average users have access to upwards of 100 applications that span that HR, IT, and financial landscape. And so if you think about getting an answer to a question or finding information in that reality, how do we simplify the digital experience, both within Workday, but also recognizing Workday is just one of many, even cases, hundreds of tools that people leverage throughout their day. So simplifying that digital ecosystem inside and outside of Workday. That is all well and good. That's what we heard from customers, and that's important, but it has to be an and with the second component. And that's really recognizing that simplification for its own sake is only half of the battle, but really it needs to be in service to elevating what we call the human experience at work. So how do we enable customers to truly understand their employees, leverage those insights, facilitate confidential conversations to understand employee sentiment? And then ultimately, how do we tie that sentiment and understanding to actions to allow them to drive the business forward based off of what they're hearing from their employees? So really tying insights to action to elevate that human experience. So those are the two top priorities we think about as we enter next year.
Yeah, that, harnessing that power of data at the end of the day for so many things. Joe, what's top of mind for you?
Well, I loved Ali's reference to simplification. That might come back later at some point. That'd be a fun one to unpack a little bit. But from the broader technology organization at Workday, I mean, first of all, we're constantly evolving this foundation of the service, but we're also never losing focus on those really important abilities of software. So I think availability, reliability, scalability, those crazy things that we're doing that nobody else has ever done before. But I'd also be fairly remiss if I didn't actually share how excited I'm about in terms of how we architect the service, right? It's a single version service, all customers globally leveraging the exact same thing. And so with their trust and their permission, what are we going to do to capitalize on that volume of data that's being accreted in ways that's never been seen before, not ever, for both people and money and beyond?
Yeah, no, I think that is a really important point where you think about just that trusted data across all of the different parts that we connect, right? Your people, your finance data, so HR operations, all of that coming together to really make everybody better. In terms of growth, as you mentioned, Andy, in terms of the experience, simplifying that, but doing it in a way that you're actually getting something done, right? Versus like simplification for simplification's sake. And that intelligent, being able to take that data and use it for intelligent automation, right? I think that it really spans all the different things that we're trying to do. So really love that idea. I would throw in there one of the things that's top of mind as well is just when we think about the world and workforce today, it's that total workforce where it isn't just your full-time employees or the employees of your organization, but as we look to how trends and things change, that contingent workforce becomes even larger and important to solving that talent shortage. And so, I just want to throw out there that's another piece that when we think about the data and the what we're providing so that people can take insight to action and do the right things, it's that total view that we're presenting. So when we look at the year ahead, which trends excite you most as 2023 kicks off? Let's see. Allie, I'm going to start with you. I'm trying to go around.
2023 trends to pick. Allie for A. So we'll start with me. So one of my favorite things that I would say has been a trend, so to speak, before, but has really come into focus when we think about the year ahead, is supporting and retaining frontline managers in particular. And I, in the employee experience space, think about the manager experience a lot. And the reason for that is when you think about a compelling employee experience, the manager plays such a critical role in that because they know their employees best and they're helping them navigate these vulnerable things. And so helping the manager helps the employee. It has that downstream impact. But as part of that, and especially in those conversations I mentioned that we've done with customers, we really started by understanding the needs of the manager and the objectives of what they're trying to achieve. And shocker for this group, not so much, the frontline manager has really different needs than the desk manager when they managing the workforce that you just talked about, Cristina, a total workforce, right? All the way from how they attract and retain those people and even how they manage their schedules on the job in a scenario where they only have a mobile device, a tablet, some shared kiosk. It's just really different, their day-to-day and their needs and wants. And so when I think about our investments, especially in specific industries with those deskless workers and deskless managers, hospitality, retail, healthcare, manufacturing, obviously more than that, but those are a few of the ones that we really focus on. It's about how we enable those frontline managers to be the most effective for themselves, and then ultimately how that drives value for the employee and the business as well. So that's one of my favorite trends. And then the second one, and this hopefully won't surprise the group as well, based on the 100 technologies I talked about before that users are managing, is the technology will influence the employee experience more than ever before as we go forward. And when I go back to that ecosystem of that 100+ technologies, we have such an opportunity as a technology industry, but ultimately as Workday as well, to drive a compelling employee experience. And then you add on hybrid world of work, technology is not just a tool, but a necessity to reach people. And so how we leverage that technology to deliver that experience, and ultimately one that's personal. You mentioned the people data, Cristina, and I know we'll talk about this further in terms of the role personalization plays, but ultimately leveraging technology to deliver an experience that makes sense and really meets users' expectations. I think that's key when we think about not just trends, but how we add value in 2023.
Yeah. And well, speaking of technology, maybe Joe, that's a perfect segue for how you think about it.
Yeah, I would actually break the question up into two parts, right? So at the macro and the most general of sense possible, it's like explainability, specifically as it relates to AI and ML. It's very important. I think it's critical that we help users feel confident in the design, training, and maintenance of those models that are supporting that prediction, the recommendation, the augmentation, those things that are coming, not if, but when. And that's going to go a long ways towards broader adoption in the market. I also am fairly excited about passwordless authentication. I'm fairly over password management at this point. And so whatever we can do in the broader sense to get better at that, that's going to be welcome. And then thirdly, around data observability. So how do we better monitor and track and alert across both infrastructure and pipelines for all things data, especially if we're going to be more efficient with it across any organization? And then at the micro, which would be more specific to Workday, I am thrilled to see the uptake of Workday Extend. That's a fairly new capability within the last year or so that enables our customers to build those custom apps on our existing frameworks while taking advantage of the security and the distribution and the experience that's already provided by their investment in Workday. That's going to be a big deal in 2023 and beyond.
No, I think that's just really exciting for all of our customers, to have the that flexibility and just the power that we're providing there. Andy, could you share with us what you're most excited about?
I'm going to double down on one of Joe's. So it's definitely the excitement and growing adoption around machine learning. We see this really good, strong intersection between helping finance and accounting more intelligently automate those core business processes, making them more efficient and touchless, but simultaneously, going with Ali, improving the employee engagement by empowering the employees to do new things, new ways of work. I'll give you a quick example. One of our customers processes over 4 million journal lines a month. You don't have resources to investigate and review every journal line, but the machine learning steps in, continuously interrogates those journals, looks at the data, finds the anomalies, and makes recommendations for the corrections. So this gives the accounting the ability to go and focus, make the corrections continuously, gives them confidence for the financial close, but spend time elsewhere. Really, really powerful. And then the other, but newer, is how we might use IoT for finance use cases. And this is also on the rise. It's particularly interesting for ESG and around carbon capture. But these cases are going to expand to include allocating central costs to clients, giving them greater allocation abilities, more precise drivers. And that ultimately helps you pinpoint and control costs more effectively. It's really, really powerful trends.
Yeah, no, all really, I think, yes, exciting and very important, right? From the experience and the technologies behind it. Ali, I love the focus on all different worker types, right? And when you think about that frontline worker, especially, right, making sure that I know it is making sure you're personalizing the experience based on who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. And then I think about just the mass amounts of data and making sense of that. And using it for things like machine learning and intelligent automation and all of the just the productivity that can come from all of that. Yeah, I'm a product nerd geek too, so yeah, very exciting to me.
Well, and you thought you could cap the technology guy in Joe to 2, but he gave you 4 or 5. So that's good.
Well, that's good. Like, we're excited about many things. So really looking forward to the year, right? And so when you think, which investments do you think are most critical for organizations to remain adaptable and future ready? Because at the end of the day, I think that's an important thing, is like, how, as we begin the year, like, how are we setting people up for the future? So maybe Joe, maybe you could start.
Yeah, when I think about the term adaptability, I think about being able to be nimble, right? And I think about, like, how much are you carrying? So for example, if I had a backpack full of like 100 pounds, am I more or less nimble? And the answer is you're probably less, right? And so when I think about the technology application, then is well, what's in your technology backpack? What does that portfolio look like? If it's got hundreds of different things, you're probably not nimble, and it probably impedes your ability to be adaptable. And so when I think about investments that are most critical, it's a single word: platform. Our customers, and I think the market writ large, has to think about this with a bit more deliberate kind of introspection, which is, how can I solve for many possible futures with a single investment? And it does require a shift in mindset. It really does. It forces you away from features and functions and makes you really study frameworks and foundations. But if you do it right, I honestly believe that you can reduce risk, and you can improve security, and you can enable data, and you can simplify administration, you can capture ROI, you can do all of those things that help you remain adaptable, regardless of what comes in the future.
Ali?
I was gonna say, I love that.
You add on to that? I mean, that sounds perfect.
Thanks, Joe. How do I follow that? No, I actually really love that, because although Joe and I didn't coordinate this, and I think that platform is so key in terms of how we drive a personalized experience. And we talked about this before, but having all of, not just the data in place, but the frameworks that Joe mentioned, I think is incredibly important. And personalization is to me one of the big things that not only helps you today, but also makes you adaptable and future ready when built off of the frameworks that Joe just mentioned as well. And so users are expecting something that's personalized. We no longer have a one size fits all. Your employees, we mentioned frontline managers, Cristina, or frontline workers, as well as just, I mean, even those individuals have different wants and needs. And so to retain your people, you have to invest in the experiences they receive and ultimately tailor the suggestion towards their individual growth and development. And a number of customers have already been able to do this, to Joe's point. It's not something that we're talking about in the future. Customers do this now in many ways. And one of the ways they do this in Workday, to give kind of a product and concrete example to what Joe was talking about, is through something called Journeys. So Journeys actually allows our customers to deliver resources and support that is personalized. So Cristina and I actually get the same journey, but she gets different journey steps and tasks and content because we're in different locations, or because different cost centers, or because we've been at the company slightly different kind of tenures or durations, you name it. Any condition that a customer specifies, it's dynamic based on the individual at runtime. And that allows the experience not only to be personal, which is really important to the employee or the user, but adaptable alongside your business as those conditions change. And I think that's really important when we think about not only meeting user needs, the personalization, but to Joe's point, the framework, all of the shared security, all of that platform nature, really powering those experiences so that the customer doesn't even maintain. The platform drives for you.
Andy, your thoughts?
So we're pretty well aligned on this one. And I think Joe's points are even more critical in the office of the CFO with the very complex ecosystem in which finance systems live. So it's really about investing first in that solid and agile technology foundation that's going to address the changing requirements and coexist in the wider enterprise architecture and ecosystem specific to finance. And this goes beyond the thinking of traditional ERP systems and what they're known for, but with a native cloud system, it's possible. So not only does it then allow companies to pivot when needed, it also allows companies to uptake new technology, as we've done with machine learning, to continually deliver greater value over time.
And, you know, I mean, if we think about it, really, it is making sure that our customers and ourselves, right, that we're set up to be adaptable and future ready. And that is about, you know, as we look at our customers, investing in their people, making sure that they're creating those personalized experiences that are part of the expectation to continue to keep the talent that they have to grow, and then really investing in technology. And when we say investing in people, it isn't just about the individual employee experience, it's the manager experience, as you mentioned, Ali, but also how they get to do their job, right? And giving them the tools that they need to be able to do them. And, you know, like Andy, you talk about in finance, right? Having that information to be able to do your more value added work versus having to sort through things. So really taking technology to, I think, Ali, you said it, to elevate the human experience throughout, right? Not just as an employee, but as you do the business and the work that you do in your organization. So when we talk about the importance, I mean, you know, we talk about people, we talk about finance information, we talk about the technology, all of this coming together. And when we talk about the importance of partnership across an organization, how can leaders work cross-functionally to achieve their strategic goals? So Andy, let's start with you.
So Ali picked this up in the introduction, connecting finance to the people. So it's really important for finance leaders to work closely with HR to understand the talent that's driving financial performance and then limit the risk exposure to attrition. This is especially for organizations in service-based industries. So with line of sight into your workforce, who are your biggest asset, and an understanding of demand for those services, you can then identify the gaps, identify opportunities to upskill, job rotate, train, source, manage the mix of internal and contingent talent, and ultimately then elevate the financial performance of the organization at large.
I'm usually the one talking skills, so I'm happy you're the one that mentioned it.
It's
Andy.
so critical, particularly with the upcoming environment. But it's equally important, Cristina, to partner with a CIO to identify ways technology can help the organization meet its financial goals, improve that agility, and surface those deeper insights that you talked about. And then doing so in a way that delivers simple and better experience for employees, right on Ali's points. So the better technology is so closely tied to the employee experience. I'll give you an example. We had a customer that needed to bring an employee back from retirement to help run an outdated system. No one else knew how to use it. No one else knew how to interpret the results. Thankfully, now that they've adopted Workday, the individual can go back to his retirement. But imagine the risk associated with that aging technology and that pressure on that individual. We have to continue to evolve.
Yeah, learn, grow in so many different ways. Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I think about cross-functional leadership, I have to start by saying that I believe the Office of the CIO focusing on technology is inherently just a partner to all. It really does kind of sit functionally in technology at the nexus of every pillar or domain. So maybe it's a news flash, and I hope it's not in this day and age, but just to make sure, CIOs aren't just technologists, they're business leaders. And so when you think about, that matrix collaboration across any organization, I really believe that all leaders have to really encourage and enable that by really just breaking down silos to increase that teaming across the domains. But even with kind of just beyond kind of the standard internal stuff, also look outside the organization, right? Get to those partnerships that extend beyond the walls of your own company, your own organization, in a very similar manner to like what a lot of our Workday customers do. Just blur the boundaries of the organization, partner and collaborate, and come up with a better together outcome.
Allie?
I'm probably going to get a little bit more tactical about the question because I love what Andy and Joe mentioned here. So I like to joke with my team at Workday that you can't do anything by yourself. And a lot of people can say that's a bad thing, right? There's dependencies. It's actually a really good thing. It means that you're not thinking in isolation. And the last thing we want is that showing up in the product or showing up in our customer experience when we think in isolation. And so I think partnership is key, not only in Workday, but when we talk to our customers. The things they're trying to achieve require functional subject matter experts in their organization, as well as teams that are implementing, as well as business leaders, and so on and so forth. And so I always like to emphasize to my team that there are going to be challenges. There are going to be things that you have to work cross-functionally around. And so you need to build the relationship before you need the relationship. I actually think that's really key with partnership. And so nobody wants to build a relationship while you're in the heat moment or while you need help or asking for a favor. And so how you really kind of work across some of those aisles and areas that Joe and Andy mentioned, but before you need each other, I actually think that's incredibly key to a successful partnership. And that's what we've seen our customers who do that really well in terms of implementation. They blur those lines. They have those relationships way in advance of implementing and choosing Workday.
I think you often hear, right, it takes a village, and it does, right? Like nothing can really, maybe I shouldn't say nothing, but most things don't really happen really well if they're done in a vacuum, where you don't get the full perspective, you don't actually get the full potential of whatever it is, where you haven't connected the pieces. I mean, I think all of these things cannot work independently. They work so much better and so much richer when there is that connection. And it is about cross-functioning. I mean, it applies everywhere, where, your people are important to finance, they're important to technology, right? The skills that are necessary, like all of it is absolutely connected. And I think that's one of the things that I love about Workday, is that we think about it that way, right? We think about it all together. And I think that better together statement that you made, Joe, really is how we live and think about it. And I think for anybody listening in here, like, you do need to look forward to, like, how do you work in that more connected environment and do that well. So I'm gonna end us up here, so finally, what's one bit of advice you have for the audience tuning in today? So Allie, if you would start us off there.
Yeah, so I
should say.
Yeah, I think you've heard it here today, and I know it's top of mind for everybody listening. And there's just so much change around us. And when I talk to customers, I think overall it's really just intimidating to figure out where to start, quite frankly, and not just with employee experience, but a number of initiatives specific to employee experience. When I talk to customers, and I know it's not unique to this area, but it's not about whether the investment is necessary. I think that's pretty clear to customers, that they need to invest in employees, or all the things we've talked about here today. But it's really around, where do they start? What does good look like? And ultimately, how do you align that to your business results to achieve that focus that we've touched on here? And so my biggest piece of advice would be simply to start. And I know that sounds really, really simple in itself, but analysis paralysis is the worst answer, I think, to the employee experience challenges, and probably other challenges that you all have going on. So I like to say, start with an understanding of your people and sentiment, and then take a concentrated and hopefully measurable action on it, and evaluate whether it resulted in the outcome you wanted, and then revisit it again. Employee experience and many other challenges we talked about here today is not a one and done thing. It's something that needs to adapt. Talked about that alongside your business. So don't wait to get started until everything is just right. I have a phrase I always use in my team: don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So find a place to start, revisit, evaluate, and then just continue to iterate.
I love that, kind of the just do it, right?
Yeah. Great customer.
So, well, Andy, how about you? What are your final thoughts?
So I spent some time on this already, but it fundamentally put the right foundation in place at the start. You've got to deliver truly composable architecture. Other systems may have siloed architecture, which is not going to deliver the transformative impact over time. And when we think about choosing a technology partner, you've got to find a true partner. Our customers are our partners. Our goal is to help them unlock the potential of their people and their processes and their data so that they can actually realize the most value. Engage their employees, and ultimately what that all leads to is achieving their business goals. But it takes everything coming together, and you've got to start with the right foundation. Otherwise, kind of to Ali's point, once you start, you've just got to keep going forward on it.
Joe?
Well, I'm going to borrow from some sound guidance from a Workday customer. So Mike Height, who's the CIO at Saks.com, is often known to say maybe a bit of a challenging statement, but I'll just go ahead and share it. Don't be precious. And what I think that really means is don't fall so in love with what you've done in the past that you can't adapt to be better, faster, or smarter by following another path. And so in order to be future-proof, I really do think that we should all challenge ourselves to be open to continuous change, not for the sake of just, chaos, but to really capitalize on those opportunities that help us move differently into the future.
So I love everything that you all said, and it really goes to that power to adapt, right? Like having that be a kind of central behavior and thinking, that you're willing to look at new things and start somewhere to be able to transform and change. And it's not just one perspective, right? It is having to do it all together, taking advantage of just what you have, your people, being able to provide what you need for them. And I think one of the things, and Ali, you mentioned it in terms of just the manager experience, right? I think people leadership is very important in all of this, and helping our leaders be able to manage that change is very important as well. And so maybe my piece of advice would be thinking about that, your people and leadership skills, and helping to bring all of this together, because I think there's so much potential out there. And I think, I think we look at the broader world, and sometimes it sounds a little, maybe a little grim, but I think there's so much opportunity out there. And I know that for the businesses that, Andy, you mentioned growth, like there is so much potential. And so how do we help? I think here at Workday, we really do want to help our customers achieve their full growth and potential. And it really is by connecting all these different things, your people, finance, and technology, and all working together. So this has been a great conversation. I truly appreciate your perspectives, and it's always a pleasure to spend time with all of you. So thank you for sharing your insights. I really appreciate your time. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in today. And we invite you to join us again for our next episode of Workday Chats.